Salutations and fist bumps, folks. Welcome back to the grid as per usual. And as you saw on the thumbnail, we have a whole lot to talk about, specifically about who could potentially be seen inside of the character of Jean Grey. Now, this news was actually rumored back in December by the Insider, which I actually sat on for a very long time. But without further ado, let's get into what the interwebs have been talking about in terms of Sadie Sink inside of Spider-Man 4 and potentially her playing Jean Grey. Okay, so Sadie Sink is rumored to be possibly seen as Jean Grey in the MCU, which actually would bode very similar to what we've seen in terms of Kevin Feige and team and their cast in terms of characters that show up in the MCU. It comes, or it probably will come after the end. Okay, so the rumor is, and again, this was actually rumored back in December of 2024, so a few months ago, by the Insider. And I had this in my inbox and I didn't even open it because I don't even know why. There was a whole lot of things going on in my life at that point. But the fact is that this has been a rumor for a good while. Insider has gotten some things hit or miss, and everybody does. There's not a one size fits all in terms of scoops. But for his track record, mostly it's been pretty decent and spot on. That said, let's just read what the Deadline article has to say about this. So, with production starting in late of this year, so this is after she has probably wrapped the final season of Stranger Things. Now that will potentially be done, it makes a whole lot of sense, and this is also something that Insider says about Kevin Feige right around here. It or a little bit later, but it bodes well to the same type of feel that we would usually see from Kevin Feige and who he's actually trying to bring on. Specifically, the reason why I'm saying that is because that's going to be a hot series coming off of the final season of Stranger Things. I would definitely think that she would actually be a decent fit for that role. But showing up inside of Spider-Man 4 seems a bit odd. There's a lot of people, including Cosmic Circus, that believe that she probably will show up as MJ or some multiversal MJ at this point, because again, this is going to happen after the spell inside of No Way Home. So there's a potential that she could be a completely different MJ than what Peter Parker has known in the past. There's a potential that she could show up as Gwen as well. So again, a whole lot of things could happen here. But the fact that Captain America Brave New World has actually talked about or hinted around adamantium inside of the MCU. Well, not even hinted. They actually are fighting or talking about adamantium inside of the MCU now, inside of Celestial Island. Now that has happened, there's more, and because we know that there's going to be a X-Men reboot in probably the late 2027, 2028, something like that. I'll be really interested to see what that actually looks like when it happens, or when they start talking about stuff like that at Comic-Con. But it seems like that would be around the same track record for Kevin Feige, because he likes to get actors or actresses right off of hot situations so that they can bring that over into the MCU. He kind of did it with Giancarlo Esposito with his character as Sidewinder, coming off of some of his most recent stints inside of TV series like The Godfather of Harlem and stuff like that. Um, similar to gosh, what was I can't remember that Kingpin. I can't remember his name at the moment. I got a lot going on, but Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio. There we go. I like it feels like that could possibly be where he's coming from in terms of that. But again, it's odd to think about it because they haven't actually started the casting process for X-Men at all. Like they don't even have really no, not even X-Men. They haven't even started it for Spider-Man really. So like again, the production is set to start later this year. It hasn't started yet. But if he does, or if she does show up inside of Spider-Man 4, she's possibly going to be a co-star, which is what this says here. So that it it could make some sense depending on how they do it. Now, she could also show up. I mean, again, Madeline Pryor isn't off of the table either. She could show up as Jean Grey. She could show up as Madeline Pryor, or the both of them, because again, she's been in Stranger Things. She can play a dual type of situation. So Kitty Pryde is not off the table either. There's a whole lot of things that could actually play out in this particular situation. Now, let's just read what they're talking about in this particular situation, this particular article, I should say. So, with production set to start later this year, like I talked about earlier, with a new installment in Spider-Man, in the Spider-Man franchise, series star Tom Holland looks to have found a new co-star, one who is no stranger, like how they did that, to popular IP. Sources tell Deadline that Stranger Things star Sadie Sink is set to join the sequel from Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios. Holland is already set to return as Peter Parker. We all knew that, but let's keep reading. As for who Sink will be playing, the prevailing theory is that she'll be introduced as X-Men character Jean Grey. But don't count out the idea for her showing up as the beloved redheaded Spider-Man character, MJ. What is known is that the role will be significant given how the most recent film for Spider-Man in terms of Spider-Man No Way Home concluded with Peter Parker making the decision to complete Doctor Strange's spell that erases his identity from the world. So, there's a lot of things that could play out here. One of those things will be, again, like I talked about earlier, that she either shows up as a new MJ, like the proper MJ inside of Spider-Man's franchise now, and or if she, like, again, if she's not going to be Jean Grey, this is just kind of playing a different type of side of this. If she's not going to be Jean Grey, she could potentially show up as MJ, the proper MJ, but she could also show up as Gwen as well, because Gwen Stacey is a very big part of the Spider-Man franchise as well. We've already had a Gwen Stacey in another iteration of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man specifically. So I don't rule anything out, like, on the table. It's completely up in the air. But there's a whole lot of people in Snyder, and other people have talked about it so far in the last couple of days, from what I've seen, that she's potentially a shoo-in, not a good fit for Jean Grey. She already has the red hair. She's played Stranger Things, a Stranger Things situation in character. It would make a whole lot of sense. Like, she looks the part. She has the look and everything like that. I could see it, but I also wouldn't mind seeing her. And I think, let me just double check. I think I saw this somewhere else. Her showing up as Firestar as well. That could also be a thing too. there's a bunch of different ways that this could go. I'm interested to see what y'all think about that. Leave that down in the comments. This is a new format for me. I'm probably going to stick with this for a little while because it's just easier to get things out and out of my brain. I may even dabble with doing some live Easter egg hunts in terms of some of the films that are available to do Easter egg hunts with. But let me know what you guys think. Leave that down in the comments. I'm interested. I'm very curious to see how this plays out. And yeah, this is basically a lot that could happen with this character. Will we also potentially see if Jean Grey does show up? That means that if she's going to play Jean Grey, she's probably going to show up as a younger version, maybe. If that is the case, do we also get a younger version of Scott and Charles as well? Maybe. Again, a whole lot of things can happen here. I'm interested to see if this actually does happen inside of Spider-Man. It would be a kind of a weird situation if it did, but let me know what you guys think. And until next time, y'all be smooth. Blurred out.